I'm Adam.
And I'm Rob.
And welcome to episode 48 of the Stream Bucket Podcast.
Oh, 2 off of 50. Do we have a 50th anniversary when that comes up?
Yeah.
Alright.
We have a little party popper.
We'll
a single... What's the name of the...
Vuvuzela.
No, the...
I know it. Yeah, I don't know what they're called.
The party whistles.
Yeah. Whistle flaps.
Yes, whistle flaps.
So, that's for another time. That's 2 whole episodes away. We're about episode 48 today, Adam.
By the time we do episode 50, the world will be orange.
Why?
And donut-shaped.
Is this a thing, or are you just making things up?
I'm just making things up. But God knows what's going to happen in another 4 weeks' time.
I know. Everything could happen.
Gyms will be reopened.
Gyms will be open. We can work on our muscles and our figures and our frames.
Theatres will be reopened.
Really?
Yeah. I think that's happening imminently.
How are they? But I guess that people have to sit far apart and stuff.
I think it's open air things. So I think there's a lot of banging on about like the open air theatre in Cornwall. Yeah, that big famous one. There's big noise about that reopening.
Well, hopefully in 2 weeks' time, I'll be able to talk about my experience watching Jurassic Park in an open air theatre at Nebworth Park.
Oh!
Which is exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
I wanted to go see that. There was another one as well.
They're Back to the Future.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off was there one?
Yeah, that was one.
Yes.
Speaking of things reopening, obviously since our last show, the pubs in the UK have once again opened their doors. I went to a local pub in Hitchin called the Highlander last night for their reopening. They had a wonderful pavilion up, a really posh pavilion, which was like a kind of festival tent pavilion. And I had a wonderful Pilsner to kick things off. And it was genuinely worth the wait. It was so good to have an actual real-life pint and not a can of knockoff supermarket cider.
You could buy proper beer.
Yeah, but it's just not the same, is it?
No, I suppose not.
It's just not the same.
I've yet to do it.
It's really good. It's really good. I heavily recommend it. Although I was on antibiotics because of my disgusting tonsillitis.
Oh yes.
So I got twatted.
You can listen to the Patreon exclusive podcast to hear all about Rob's infectious diseases.
Yeah, if
dirtbag.
If that doesn't make you sign on as a Patreon, I don't know what will.
Because Rob is just a diseased dirtbag baby.
Yeah, I've had a dead throat. I've had an infected
I'm Adam.
finger.
Ugh.
It's my putting on a vacuum cleaner.
We might have to bleep these out.
Why?
Just because it's horrible, isn't it?
It's gross. Yeah.
Ugh.
I was so stupid that when I was trying to burst my infected finger, I stabbed the pink bit with flesh under it as opposed to the bit.
Gross!
So I just stabbed myself and put myself into agonising pain. I was questioning why it hurt so much, but I was literally just stabbing myself in my skin. So that was dumb. But
well,
yeah.
you've learned not the lessons learned of being a home doctor.
I also remembered, I haven't been this ill in about 10 years, and I remembered my old home comfort, which is Studio Ghibli. If you're watching, if you need something to make you feel better when you're feeling really poorly, you need to slap on Spirited Away and be whisked into that world.
Yeah, this is why when I tried to do an all-nighter at Prince Charles Cinema, it's very difficult doing Studio Ghibli because it's very sleep-inducing. It's just whisk you away.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful, cosy little animated world with these characters.
How do you feel about the new CGI one?
I need to see a trailer because I didn't like the stills. The stills looked weird and not even that good. But I imagine it's something where when you actually see it in motion, it'll be like awe-inspiring.
I think it's Studio Ghibli, and I get this with a lot of older animation things. The older ones look better because they've got more of a...
Well, they've got kind of more of an artistic touch to them.
Yeah. Whereas later on, it kind of feels more computer-generated.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Even in just flat animation. So it's going to be interesting to see if the style...
Yeah, if you go back to like Nausicaa or Princess Mononoke, it's like crafted with art and pencils and things. It's like, wow, look at this. Amazing animation. Yeah, I agree. Have you been watching anything?
No. But I have been listening to lots of podcasts. Because I find that when I'm doing things, like when I'm writing or doing design stuff, it's so much like podcasts are the perfect thing to do because you can
got
tune in and out.
You've got a different brain because I would not be able to concentrate because my simpleton brain has problems absorbing 2 pieces of information at once. If there was someone talking information at me, I would lose my state of flow.
It depends what you're doing. If you're writing, it's hard.
Right.
Because you're going to start typing what you're hearing.
Yeah.
But when you're just doing like Photoshop for 6 hours a day, as I was...
Oh, that's different.
It's just making squares and... very witty, Adam Buxton. As you click and...
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
But if you're just sitting there typing, yeah, it's a nightmare. I can't even do it with work.
No.
With our day job work. But anyway, yeah. So, Adam Buxton Podcast, I've just worked my way through over a year's worth of those. It's interesting, even though we're still kind of in the pandemic, it's interesting hearing it from the beginning again.
Yeah, I imagine that's really fascinating.
Hearing the panic sort of build and subside and carry on.
I might actually give that a go as well. I'd like to hear it all unfolding and what kind of their reactions are.
It's quite interesting because I think he came back earlier because Adam Buxton does podcasts all year round, but he kind of has seasons of it. He has big gaps in between while he goes away and has interviews with people. So he had this big sort of gap prepared after Christmas, but then came back early because he was like, oh god, we got to talk about this stuff. It's really good, and also it went alongside him finishing his book.
So a lot of the stuff he does is pre-recorded episodes and sometimes he's recorded it like 6 months ago in an interview or something ridiculous like that, hasn't he?
Some of them are like years old, but this one, a lot of the newer Corona era ones, he did almost then and there.
And I suppose he's got the rosy intros as well.
Yeah.
Does he always reflect on it there when he's?
He does, yeah. He talks about what's going on in the household, so it's kind of a nice. It's almost like a fly on the wall kind of what's going on in this family's house in Norfolk. But yeah, no, he's got the audiobook, which I haven't actually started listening to yet, but apparently I'm hearing mixed reviews. Some say it's a bit too sad, which is interesting.
Oh, he goes into his disagreements with Joe a bit, doesn't he?
He goes into his whole upbringing and stuff. Yeah, it's interesting. Adam Buxton, if anyone doesn't know, he's a TV personality, got quite big in the 90s, then went on to radio, and has always kind of been a bit of an icon of mine growing up. So it's quite interesting hearing kind of the real life behind him a little bit. But yeah, what have you been doing?
Festering, dying,
Oh, yeah.
sod all. So nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. I got Luigi's Mansion on the Switch. So I've also been kidnapping ghosts all week, sucking them into my vacuum cleaner, which has been great.
Nice. Brilliant. Well, what's going on in the show?
So, we've got the standard stuff, the Fortnite Schmortnight, and we are going to be reviewing our first ever Western.
Yeah, so last time I chose the word different, which you scoffed at.
Yeah, I thought it was stupid, because you apply it to anything.
You can apply it to everything. What I've gone for is, in a way, to pay tribute to the loss of Ennio Morricone, cinematic soundtrack composer legendaire. I've chosen Once Upon a Time in the West, which is a film about different people from different backgrounds, all kind of crossing paths.
Yeah.
And building this new future. It's a different kind of Western with different people. The word is different.
Nice.
Yes.
It's an inspired choice, and I'm very happy you chose it because it gave us an opportunity to watch an incredible film.
Excellent. Well, we'll talk more on that later. We've also got reviews from me and game reviews from Nick, and we're going to talk some bit of stuff in between.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, perfect.
Lovely stuff. Adam's Film Reviews. The Old Guard 2020.
Who are you? You can call me Andy. I lead a group of soldiers. Fighters, like you. With an extremely rare skill set.
What do you mean?
Mother? Let's just say we're very hard to kill. You've got questions, kid. You want answers? I have the new one.
And?
I think she has potential.
another Netflix original adaptation of an old comic book. The Old Guard was written by the original comic scribe Greg Rucka and directed by Gina Price Bythewood. First announced in 2017, The Old Guard introduces us to a group of undying, semi-immortal mercenaries led by the impossibly ancient Andy, as she prefers to be known, played by Charlize Theron. The rest of the group include the former opposing Crusader soldiers and now couple, Joe and Nikki, played respectively by Marwan Kenzari and Luke Marinelli, and Napoleonic soldier Booker, played by Matthias Schoenaerts. Together, they are the Old Guard, able to recover from mortal wounds and mostly old age for reasons. Hired by former CIA operative Copley, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, the unit are sent to Sudan to rescue a group of kidnapped children. The mission, however, is nothing but a trap, and the group are soon ambushed by Copley's men in a bid to capture, or at the very least, confirm the group's ability to come back to life. See, the group's activities haven't gone unnoticed. Their presence throughout history has been observed again and again. One man in particular has taken note of them, a millionaire pharmaceutical exec by the name of Stephen Merrick, played by Harry Melling. It's his belief that with enough samples taken from the Old Guard, his scientists may be able to unlock their inherent survival abilities and turn it into a cure for, well, death. Furious at their betrayal, Andy sets her targets on Copley to get revenge, but her vendetta is interrupted when the group suffers dreams of another mortal being out there, an American Marine serving in Afghanistan by the name of Niall, played by Kiki Lane. See, Niall isn't having a great time. While in pursuit of militants in Afghanistan, she is confronted by her target and is taken surprise and sliced across the neck. With all of her comrades expecting her to be dead, they are shocked and terrified to find that she has made a full recovery, without even a scratch left of her mortal wound. Desperate and alone, Niall is kidnapped by Andy and taken to the rest of the group. To be immortal is to be alone, but it's Joe's belief that the dreams they have signifies that they should be together. So, with Niall under Andy's wing, the group soon set off to find the man that was targeting them, while the truth of Niall's sudden appearance begins to dawn on Andy and the group at large. Now, just come out and say it, the Old Guard is pretty good. It's easy to see that it was based on a comic series and has a very similar tone to the likes of 2008's Wanted or especially 2010's of The Losers. It's an action film and pumped full of great choreography and some genuinely impressive set pieces, despite its somewhat out of date vibe. While the soundtrack isn't all that to write home about, the performances in this film are incredible. Charlize Theron in particular stands out as a brooding and hard-nosed veteran, able to break her routine to show some genuine character throughout the story. Kiki Lane too portrays a very believable and charismatic Niall on screen, with similarly great performances from Chiwetel Ejiofor and Matthias Schoenaerts. The only real issue I have with the Old Guard is that the somewhat cliche and boring Stephen Merrick. While Harry Melling clearly put his all into his performance, the idea of Big Pharma being the bad guys is so ordinary it's almost cringeworthy. But while stock villain number 392 with stock motive number 2 making money is bad, it's not enough to undermine the performances and intriguing storyline in the Old Guard. There's a sequel hook too, and for a long time in a while, I would love to see our heroes come back a second time. Now we have the backstory, now we have the setup, I think we have a lot of potential to see the Old Guard truly let loose. It's on Netflix, check it out, it's definitely worth seeing.
Let's move!
Wait for the signal.
How the hell can you even tell? Oh.
I'm just a sweet screen bucket. So earlier this week we heard the tragic news that Ennio Morricone, a cinematic legend, has passed away at the age of 91. And since it's probably not going to feature in the Fortnite Schmortnight,
I think it's worth we talk about him a bit.
Yes.
We need to. I mean, he's one of the most incredible composers of all time, I would say, in terms of movies. He's iconic. And I didn't even know, like, we were just looking for it now. I always assumed John Carpenter did the theme to The Thing, which is rubbish movie knowledge on my part, but it was him.
Yeah, Ennio Morricone must be one of the most versatile composers. I mean, everyone knows him, obviously, for the work he did with Sergio Leone, doing the westerns. including probably the most iconic, genre-defining song ever put to music, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly theme, which I certainly did it. 4-year-olds be running around playing Cowboys and Indians, or Cowboys and Native Americans, and be whistling the theme to a film they probably haven't even seen. But it's so...
In every parody and every pastiche of the Wild West, that is the go-to.
I used to walk around, I remember I used to go around the playground going... You know.
Yeah, amazing.
It's one of those things that just everyone knows. And it all comes down to this one genius man who lived and breathed music.
I've seen Metallica a couple of times, and such is the amazingness of hearing Ecstasy of Gold in a massive field from giant speakers. You kind of... Metallica are one of the best bands live in the world, but at that moment, you're happy for them not to come on yet, just so you can keep on listening to Ecstasy of Gold.
Yeah.
That's how amazing it is. Yeah, incredible.
Let's think, his music... lots of people say that music and sound is as important, if not more, than visuals in film and TV. And I think, as we'll discuss later on, that is so true of Ennio Morricone. In fact, his music goes above and beyond a normal soundtrack. John Carpenter paid tribute to Ennio Morricone as they were good friends, and they worked together on a few things, not just The Thing. But a good comparison there is John Carpenter does music that is wallpaper. It's to be almost ignored. It's like a mood setter for what you're seeing on the screen. Ennio Morricone's scores are like heart-wrenching. This is the thing. This is the experience that you're going to be taken on.
His soundtracks attach themselves to the characters.
Yeah.
Like the facial movements in, like, I mean, obviously we were just watching Once Upon a Time in the West. We'll talk about it more later. But everything, it all absorbs into everything that's going on in the screen at the moment, and it's amazing.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people on Twitter who are mourning Ennio Morricone have been talking about The Thing, regarded as one of the best horror soundtracks of all time. And that, again, it's the same kind of thing. You can walk around at night with that in your ear, the theme to The Thing playing, and you will need new trousers. It's terrifying, and it captures something more than just music. It's something quite human. It gets really to the core of what you're listening to and influences your emotions. We were just listening to the soundtrack from Inglourious Bastards as well, which has some Morricone music in it. There's one track in there that made me feel tense.
Oh, God, yeah.
My muscles seized up.
Ugh.
But he's done... It hasn't just done those kind of big bombastic themes as well. He's also done smaller parts. He's done jazz numbers. He's done the weird soundtrack to Exorcist 2. It's unbelievable just how important Ennio Morricone was to cinema in the last 80 years, I suppose. Have you seen Cinema Paradiso?
No, I have not.
Right, Cinema Paradiso is a love letter to film. The story is basically about a kid who hangs around with the projectionist in a cinema and watches him make films and stuff. But what you're watching on screen is a boy watching a grown man use a piece of machinery. But the music is telling this pages and pages of story. And if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. The soundtrack is beautiful. It's hard to quite express just how much we're going to miss him, really.
No. And, you can guarantee that come the next BAFTAs and the Oscars, it'll be his music that's played over everything. He's just, universally adored.
Oh, without a doubt. So, yes, rest in peace, Ennio Morricone. I will be listening to music whenever I can.
Absolutely, me too.
Scelto il più grande musicista italiano vivente, il grande Oscar Ennio Morricone. maestro, questo è il primo David.
Welcome to Fortnite Schmortnight. New plot details for the upcoming Halloween Kills have been announced. Fans will be excited to hear that many characters are returning from the original 1978 film, including Lindsay Wallace, Nurse Marion Chambers and Sheriff Leigh Brackett, all played by their original actors. Speaking to Empire, writer Danny McBride said that events in the film bring together a lot of characters who were in the 1978 film who we didn't see last time. They gather to try once and for all to take down Michael, to stop this madman. He added that the sequel is more about the unravelling of a community into chaos and about how fear spreads virally rather than Laurie's isolation.
Yeah.
I'm kind of happy about that because I'm done with people thinking she's crazy.
Yeah, it feels a bit fanficky. Do you know what I mean? Let's get all the characters back. Let's all hug it out. We're all friends.
I suppose that's what like a lot of writers would do. Like they go back to the source material. I mean, that's what they did with Star Wars, and that didn't turn out so well.
Oh, it's the worst thing ever when they do that. The worst thing's Picard, when you have a character who was kind of standoffish and stiff upper lips, and now he's hugging them. Not because the character would, but because we want to see it, because we're fans.
Run the risk of just treading in old tracks.
Although I'm sure that won't be an issue. John Carpenter's still got the helm and...
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it's been delayed. It was going to be out this October. Now it's been pushed to next October.
It's going to be a long old slog until we get back to movie madness again, eh?
I suppose he'll have... it's almost worth having both of the next two back-to-back. Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, which feels like a spoiler. But anyway.
Universal's next monster movie reboot, The Wolfman, will be helmed by director of The Invisible Man's Leigh Whannell.
Oh!
This follows news that Ryan Gosling will take up the titular role earlier in the year. The film is reported to maintain the supernatural elements of the original 1941 film, but will be set in the present day.
Ryan Gosling?
Yeah.
That feels weird.
I mean, he'll be a very subtle, calm wolf.
Yeah.
He very rarely explodes into a rage, so maybe it'd be quite interesting to see this side of the Gosling.
I'm curious about that. I mean, have you seen Invisible Man yet?
I know it's fantastic.
Oh my god, it's so good. But most of that's partly down to Elizabeth Moss, I thought. Anyway.
A new trailer for The Boys Season 2 is released by Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks friggin' incredible.
Yes, it does.
The new season finds our anti-superhero heroes as wanted men, hunted by the law as well as the Supes, hoping to start a fight back against the evil Vought. We have it confirmed that the first 3 episodes will be released on Amazon Prime on the 4th of September, and then will be released weekly after that. I'm very excited. Do you know what? The Boys is my favourite TV show in the last couple of years. I mean, Chernobyl maybe up there, but I like it more than Stranger Things. I like it more than, especially the last few series of Game of Thrones. It's the best TV show. It's better than Preacher. It's so good.
Yes. I think I prefer the first series of Happy.
Really?
But that's because it speaks to me very directly. I don't know why. But yes, it is. I mean, it is phenomenal. It is definitely better than Preacher.
I can't wait. I'm gonna watch it. I might start watching the first series again.
Do you know what? Me too. When was the first episode out?
What of the new series?
Yeah,
September 4th.
Oh, it's ages
so
away.
I know. It's very annoying. But at least we get 3.
Oh, do you know what's coming out before then?
What?
Transformers, War for the Cybertron, Siege.
That does look awesome.
It looks interesting. I don't know about the lips. They've all got robot lips. Yeah. But yeah, no.
It looks really cool though.
Netflix?
Yeah, and I'm done with Earth and Transformers. I want to see Cybertron.
I think it might cross over.
Okay.
I think you might do that. But yes, it's generally interesting.
Can I have some Beast Wars, please?
Well, yes, please.
Okay, there's just a bit of Beast Wars in there. What else we got? Charlize Theron has said that... Charlize Theron has said...
What's happening?
Charlize Theron has said that George Miller's plan to cast a different Charlize Theron. Can you say her name? Charlize Theron has said that George Miller's plan to cast a different Furiosa in his planned spin-off prequel to Mad Max, heartbreaking. It's a tough one to swallow, she said, speaking to THR.
Why are you giggling at that?
No. No.
Why are you laughing at that?
I don't know. It's not more so in the aftermath of making Fury Road with him. He's a master and I wish him nothing but the best, Theron said. Yeah, it's a little heartbreaking for sure. I really love the character and I'm so grateful I had a small part in creating her. She'll forever be someone I think of and reflect on fondly. Miller has reportedly looked at Killing Eve... Why has my father... George Miller has reportedly looked at Killing Eve star Jodie Comer for the role, among others.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Ooh.
Off of The Witch.
She's very good.
I mean, we mentioned her recently. She's great, Anya Taylor-Joy. But I've got to say, Jodie Comer, her face looks like a young Charlize Theron.
I was thinking that when I was looking at her earlier. I mean, I love Charlize Theron to pieces. I'm very sad. But yeah, if it's going to be a prequel of Furiosa in her very much younger days, then I guess that she's got to be recast. She can't play a 22-year-old or whatever, can she?
No, especially if you're going to be doing... I mean, knowing George Miller, knowing Mad Max... It'd probably be quite intense as well.
Yeah.
Probably won't be able to do quite... We'll see if it's fake, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I am a bit worried that without the Max figure, we might lose something. The thing with Mad Max is Max isn't the central character, necessarily. He's not the guy with stuff going on. He is, however, the audience's way in.
Yeah.
So, as an audience, you're following Max, a man who's not that mad... despite the name, you're following this guy as he enters this world and you see it from his perspective. Without that, I worry it's going to lose a connection.
I wonder, so if we were to say that Furiosa is taking over, generally speaking, the role of Mad Max in the protagonist sense, there's going to be another gap to be filled for another good guy who's kind of the partner, because that's kind of a common theme in all the Mad Max films, is there's another kind of guy on his side who's helping out.
Yeah.
So you're losing the... Because Max is quite normal, and you're right, you can relate to him. But obviously, with Furiosa, she's absolutely wild, so I guess you do lose that kind of access.
Yeah, if she's living in this world with Big Scary Man, whatever his name was, we're going to just sort of have to deal with the world as we see it, which seems weird. Unless Furiosa herself is the Max character. Like, she's a wanderer who gets kidnapped or something.
Yeah, and she could be from a completely different part of the map. She could be from...
Well, she is. She's with the warrior women, motorbike women.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember?
Yeah. I think so.
So she could be like a nomad and she gets captured or something. I can't remember what her character was. She might have been given up for... Oh, whatever. But yes, that's my only hesitation. I'm sure it'd be brilliant. Yeah. All faith in George Miller.
Yes.
Just hopefully it won't take the 15 years it took Fury Road to be made.
Cannot wait.
Mm-hmm.
And to round us up with some very, very big adult political news. Political.
With John Tickle.
Presidential candidate Kanye West has stated that when he wins the presidency, he will run the White House like the fictional country of Wakanda.
Oh, great.
Talking to Forbes about his plans, West said that a lot of Africans do not like the movie and presentation of themselves in Wakanda. But I'm going to use the framework of Wakanda right now because it's the best explanation of what our design group is going to feel like in the White House.
Hold on. People from Africa don't like their representation, but whatever. I'm doing it.
Why did he... Yeah.
That's a really weird...
He didn't even come back to the argument. He goes on to say... That is a positive idea. You got Kanye West, one of the most powerful humans. No, I'm not saying the most. I'm not saying the most because you get a lot of alien-level superpowers.
What?
And it's only collectively that we can set it free. Let's get back to...
What the hell is he talking about?
Let's get back to Wakanda. Like in the movie in Wakanda, when the king went to visit that lead scientist to have the shoes wrap around her shoes. Just the amount of...
What?
This is what... I'm not joking. And then he says, just the amount of innovation that can happen. The amount of innovation in medicine, like Big Pharma. We are going to innovate together.
What is he saying?
I don't know.
Does he know that Wakanda has, like, this alien material? That's why they're so advanced? Or does he just think if you wear a tunic... you'll get superpowers.
Does he know that it isn't real?
What is he talking about?
I know when he goes on about the shoes. It's mental.
Kanye West is insane, as everyone knows.
He's absolutely bat poop crazy.
He recently tweeted that Kim Kardashian had just become a billionaire with a picture of... Let me show you. Basically, Kanye West tweeted congratulations to his wife, Kim Kardashian, for becoming a billionaire, and underneath had a picture, dandelion and a rose.
Oh my god.
And it was just like there. It wasn't arranged. It was just on the floor with a picture. It was really weird. But people's responses to it were like, wow, read the room, man. What are you talking about?
How?
People say billionaires are not good. Like, this is the problem.
This isn't a proud thing. This isn't congratulations on starting up your first charity. Congratulations, you're stupid rich.
Oh, it's
mental.
There we go, found it. Okay, it's 2 peppers.
What? Is that a cherry tomato?
Flour and a tomato.
You've weathered the craziest storms, and God is shining on you and our family. So blessed this is still life. So I made you this still life. Dude, there's a pandemic.
I know, right? And there's people underneath like, what? What are you talking about?
It's gross, dude. But yeah, alright.
Well,
that's Fortnite Schmornight.
What a positive ending to Fortnite Schmornight.
Yeah.
The time has finally come. The most anticipated video game event of the year. The release of the sequel to one of the most successful franchises in the history of gaming. But what will I think of it? Well, it's time for Nick's Game Reviews. Doom Eternal. Doom 2016 is a masterpiece of gamecraft. The perfect balance of level design, combat mechanics, audio and setting expectations. Tell someone you're making a Doom game where all you have to do is shoot everything and then fulfilling that promise? It was exceptional right from the moment Doom Guy bashes away the screen that tries to give you a story. This is Doom. Doom does not need a story, it just needs demons and shooting and superb maps to explore. So, Doom Eternal must be onto a winner, right? They already know how to please fans of the franchise, just so more of the same, but with different maps, enemies and weapons, right? Sitting down to play it and, well, within 5 minutes they've already tried to force a story down my throat, causing me to literally gag with displeasure. Within 15 minutes they've thrown platforming at me. Platforming in a Doom game. I mean, for... I of course carried on because in between all the story and platforming is still that doomy fighting and awesome music. Except the fighting doesn't always feel so fun. Within a few hours you're introduced to a variety of different enemies that you can't simply shoot. You have to use different weapons and abilities and glory kills to have any chance of taking them down. And then come the Marauders. Jesus Christ, possibly one of the worst enemies ever designed for a Doom game. The whole point of Doom is to be so fast paced that it makes you feel like a god, flitting around the screen, shooting like a maniac and occasionally ripping a demon's entrails out through its throat. The Marauders completely slow the gameplay down and require you to think, to plan your attacks, and constantly retreat to heal up and restock ammo. Retreat! But I'm the Doom Guy. Doom Guy doesn't retreat. Is this just id Software misreading what people like about the first game? Or Bethesda interfering and saying, you need to add more? The only saving grace of this truly disappointing follow-up to one of the best games of this generation is the final mission. You are zipping from one building to another so smoothly, fighting hordes of enemies with every weapon you can get and every ability available. And it feels like Doom. Everything just clicks. All of that extra gumph the game has been teaching you from the start, the complicated weapons, the platforming, the different ways to resupply your ammo, armour and health, it all just makes sense and suddenly feels like what I expected from Doom Eternal. So, I wouldn't say it's a terrible game. It's far from it. It is a good game. I think it just was always going to be compared to its predecessor, and that's never a good thing. But I was disappointed. Certain games should spend time teaching you things so that when you get to the end you feel like an OP god among men. Doom isn't one of them. I want to feel OP from the start. Still, at least the music is still epic.
Oh, mademoiselle, would you like to have a film discussion?
Oh, yes, monsieur. I would love to have an in-depth film discussion with you, like I do on Scream Bucket.
The railroad, the boom towns, a new life, and the promised land. Once upon a time. The widow, the land grabber, the outlaw, the gunman.
So, Once Upon a Time in the West, my pick for different.
Yes, and a different choice altogether because we've never done a Western before.
Yeah, no, we've certainly never done a Western that's also frequently in the top 100 films of all time across multiple magazines and things. Yes, Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, Sergio Leone, flipping classic.
Yeah, amazing film.
It's very unique in the sense that it is a spaghetti Western. It's made by Italians, Sergio Leone obviously being the director and writer, but it's not fun. Not really.
No.
There's moments of comedy in it, but it's, on the whole, a much more mature, much more grown-up kind of Western.
Yeah.
It comes at a time when Sergio Leone was sick of doing Westerns. He didn't want to do it anymore. To put in context, Westerns were, in the 60s, the equivalent of the superhero movie now. There was one every year. There's more than one every year.
And this is kind of like 1968 was kind of when they started to wind down, wasn't it? It was becoming a bit less prevalent.
I think around then it was moving from Westerns to like crime.
Yeah.
I think that was around the sort of time. Sci-fi came after that for the big sort of blockbuster kind of stuff.
Ushered in the Godfather days and the Scarface days and so on. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a film that I've enjoyed for many, many years. The big moment of watching Once Upon a Time in the West was when I was living with Nick. And we decided to watch it because we got into Westerns. I think I was showing him a lot. We were sort of watching a lot of Westerns and we decided to put this one on because I knew of it. I don't think I'd actually seen it then. I knew of its reputation and certainly of the music. But back then, our internet was rubbish. We were streaming it. It was on Sky or whatever.
Ugh, oh, no.
And it was really, really bad. And we were streaming it. And we were watching it in chunks because the internet would stop and we'd have to let it load. So what happened was we would watch the opening scene, or most of it. We'd have to stop. And we'd go out and do something. Go shopping. Cook dinner, and we'd watch a little bit more, and we'd go out and do something else. We'd eat dinner, then we'd have to stop it again. And what it meant was we watched this film over the course of a whole day, almost from like 10 till 10. Like this was a long process, which meant we got to know the characters, which meant we kept thinking about the characters, and there's a weird sort of time jump throughout the film. And by the end, we were like, we know everyone. We were so wrapped up in all of it. The music was in our head for weeks, especially Cheyenne's theme.
Yeah, that's my favourite theme, even more so than the harmonica. We had to watch it in 2 parts because I had a lot of beers and antibiotics yesterday. But even without the beer and antibiotics, I would much have preferred to have watched it in 2 sittings anyway. I think it would have been. It's a heavy film, like you say. It's not like as light and sort of humorous as maybe other Western films.
No, a lot of the Clint Eastwood Western films were much more... They would have silly characters running out. Oh, no! Oh, my chickens!
Well, you've got the ugly, haven't you, in the good, the bad.
Yeah, exactly.
People like that.
And there is humour in this. That Once Upon a Time in the West isn't a dire, dark, horrible... There is humour. The character... Cheyenne character's pretty humorous.
He is. It is a good film to watch in 2 bits, I think.
Yeah.
I would say.
Also, where we ended it was quite nice as well. I mean, there's a lot to it. So one of the things why it's a different film, to use the keyword, there are a lot of different characters coming in, and each one has their own story. Almost unbelievably so. Like, well, you've got the mysterious harmonica.
Yeah.
We never know his name. Played by Charles Bronson, a young Charles Bronson, a sort of angry, tanned pug of a man.
Yeah, he just looks perpetually old, and yet like he's a weathered man.
You know those brown leather footballs?
Yeah,
it's like that with legs.
Yeah,
it's just but we don't really know anything about him. We don't share much about him. He's very much your man with no name role.
Yeah,
but unlike Clint Eastwood in that position, you know nothing. Clint Eastwood has a swagger and a charisma and a charm. And he's got his little cigar, and he's got his flamboyant hat, and his flipping things. Charles Bronson just walks about, just plonks about, playing
himself on a bar every now and again.
Yeah, just playing his harmonica, as Cheyenne says.
Instead of talking, he plays, and when he better play, he talks.
He's just an observer, isn't he? More than anything.
Yeah, he's a sort of spirit animal. So you've got harmonica. He's doing his own thing. Then we've got. We'll do it in order as we meet them, I suppose. We've got Jill McBain, played by the wonderful Claudia Cardinale, who is a new arrival. We'll talk a bit more about her later on. She's a new arrival. She's going off to see her new family. She's got her own plans. She's been released from the prison of her former life in New Orleans. We've got Cheyenne, who's a gang leader, played by Jason Robards.
I love his face. He's got such a warm rock star twinkle in his eye.
I know what you mean.
There's something. I mean, every
the facial hair helps. He looks like your friendly uncle, but not that friendly uncle. The nice one, the one who's got all the famous actors' stories. And
yeah.
Signed vinyls and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So. He's a gang leader, but he's pretty affable. He's quite nice. He's quite funny. He's got the swagger as the sidekick.
He does.
Well, you know music, and you can count all the way up to 2.
All the way up to 6 if I have to.
And then we've got Henry Fonda's character.
Frank. Yes.
The bad guy.
Now, Henry Fonda was the good guy. He was the actor who played all the good guys. And suddenly he's this ice-cold killer.
So Sergio Leone says he got the part, tells him to get his ass to Italy. So Henry Fonda's thinking, well, I've got to change these twinkling blue eyes for brown eyes, and I've got to grow a big evil mustache.
Yeah.
He arrives, Sergio Leone says, nah, get rid of that. I want the audience to see you and recognise you. And that's interesting, isn't it? And it adds depth to, like you were saying, with the depth of the characters, to have this such a recognisable protagonist in the eyes of the audience.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You link to him on a human level because you're seeing a good guy on appearance, but then he does all these rotten things.
Well, Henry Fonda, I mean, if you compare him to Lee Van Cleef, who plays the baddie in all the other spaghetti westerns, he's the bad in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Who's a sort of dark-eyed shrew man. And then you see the sort of handsome, blue-eyed...
beautiful man.
You know, and I think that's part of why it works. So Frank is he's a low-down cowboy gang man. But he's kind of getting sick of it himself. He's too old now. He starts fantasizing life behind a desk and using money rather than guns. So that's quite interesting that we get all this expansion. Frank works for this mysterious Mr. Morton, a kind of a sort of bloated, rich, disabled Mr. Potter character who spends most of his time in his beautiful office with all its chandeliers in the back of a train. And this guy is, we're assuming, to be evil. He's controlling the bad guys. But at the same time, he's dying, and his one wish is to see the ocean and to build a railway from east to west.
It's such an amazing detail. You got this guy, this bad guy who's rotten with tuberculosis. And like you say, definitely masterminding this big criminal plan. But at the same time, that's all he wants. He wants to get to the ocean before he dies.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And even when he has the determination to hobble over and join a card game for part of a bigger sort of scheme, there's humanity in his face and in what he did.
You feel sorry for him, and
he's constantly bullied throughout the film, and you kind of think, well,
it's.
And his fate is poetic as hell as well.
Oh yeah,
beautiful touch.
So I think the big thing with Once Upon a Time in the West is, as we say, Sergio Leone is kind of sick of westerns. He wants to retire out of the genre. He wanted Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was sick of it as well. Couldn't get him, so ended up with Charles Bronson. Who instantly they tried to get before, but he said no. It's time for a more mature Western, and a lot of the decisions were made flipping the norm. So Henry Fonda, handsome leading actor, is the baddie.
Yep.
And we have the baddie who actually is really sympathetic. And almost the kind of main revenge quest is almost like,
yeah,
like it's just there. The actual story is about the West dying and becoming the modern day.
Yeah.
The whole thing is about industrialization. It's about building towns. It's about installing a railway.
It's like his own little farewell to the genre in a weird way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. And it ties in with modern Western stuff. Red Dead Redemption 2, the absolute record-breaking video game franchise. The recent game having a story about a gang of Western gunfighters sort of getting too old for it and realising they don't really have a place anymore. It's an interesting sort of repeated thing.
Yeah. I mean, as well, he's kind of done something different with... I mean, I know he was reluctant to at first, but eventually he did. The plot revolves around Jill as opposed to the Spaghetti trilogy where it's revolving around the man with no name. We've got this revolves around the woman, which is a first in terms of what he's done.
She's not... I mean, that's not to say she's a particularly wonderful feminist icon.
She's not a strong character. And
she is in a way, but she, like, accepts rape as an option.
Ma'am, it seems to me you ain't caught the idea.
Of course I have. I'm here alone in the hands of a bandit who smelled money. If you want to, you can lay me over the table and amuse yourself. And even call in your men. Well, no woman ever died from that. When you're finished, all I'll need will be a tub of boiling water. And I'll be exactly what I was before. With just another filthy memory.
She does what she has to do to survive.
Yeah, which is key. But she also makes coffee for the git who's just barged his way in. You know what I mean? So yeah, but yeah, it's quite a powerful, influential character in this world, which is interesting. But what is the plot? What is the general? We can't go too depth because it's so long.
Yeah. So Jill returns to her family home to find.
Well, she arrives for the first time.
Yeah. Okay. She arrives for the first time, and her family's massacred.
Yeah. So she's met there's who's described in the town as the angry Irishman who has bought this big patch of land for no reason. And he's also married, he's obviously at some point visited New Orleans and married Jill, a prostitute.
Woman of the night.
A woman of the night. And on the day of her arrival, the whole family is massacred by a gang of brown coat wearing men. And we as an audience know what's going on, but there's a mystery afoot. Because the only brown-wearing men are Cheyenne's gang, as we discover. But Cheyenne has nothing. He protests. He has nothing to do with it. And so we open on this kind of mystery plot of, number one, who did it? Because it wasn't them.
Why did they do it?
Why did they do it? Because there's no gold in the house, as Sheila finds out. And it sort of slowly unravels with small bits of information being found by different characters. So Harmonica, should we talk about Harmonica's arrival? That scene.
Yes, I think we should.
The opening scene.
What a freaking amazingly awesome scene, which, just reading through, doing some research, it was sort of influenced, copied to a certain extent by Westerns gone by, and then kind of turned into Sergio Leone's own thing.
Yeah, and I think the first shot, you even said, whoa!
Yeah.
That was one hell of a cold opening. It's just a door being flung open. The first scene it feels long, it kind of is long, but the key thing is there's no music.
No.
You're watching 3 horrible-looking men waiting at a train station.
They're so obviously baddies.
Oh, yeah. There's just a fly landing on one. There's a horrible stubble.
The thing, I didn't mind the length of the scene because it's such a beautiful scene in terms of what it's filmed on and its lighting and the detail of the skin on the characters. Everyone's so weathered and tanned and wrinkly, and they've got deep eyeballs and stuff like that going in. It's all so good to look at.
Yeah, and there's so much to look at at all times. I think it used it's one of the pioneers of a new type of camera. I think is one of the reasons why it stands out so much. Techno vision or something. So it's of its time. It is remarkably good.
Yeah,
and I think it does hold up. The opening, all we hear is the environmental sounds.
Yeah,
we hear a irritating fan or a wind turbine thing throughout. We hear wood just sort of tumbling around. We hear the wind. We hear the little splashes of water as it drips into the guy's hat. And we just sat here.
It's mesmerising.
Yeah, it's
absolutely mesmerising.
It's something. It's like, you know, when you get these 10-hour ambient fall asleep music to study to things on YouTube. You ever see these?
Yeah.
It's like that. You can just watch these guys. Just.
I mean, the guy. One particular guy who they had to spread the jam on his face to make the fly land back on it. And he's particularly good to watch out because you can see him getting a bit annoyed with this fly, but not enough to kind of swat it.
Yeah.
And
well, you can tell that he's sort of humouring it. This is the most entertainment I've got.
Yeah.
To try and blow the fly off my lip.
There's an old ticket guy who's kind of being taken hostage. He's just in there, panic stricken.
Oh, it's the ultimate old Italian frail man.
Yeah. And then our man turns up.
Yeah.
Through use of that spooky, creepy harmonica noise.
One of the things I love about this film is the dialogue is so snappy and there's lots of one-liners and little bits of sharp wit about it. So there's a line. So Harmonica's there to meet Frank, but Frank's not there. He's sent 3 goons instead.
And Frank?
Frank sent us.
Did you bring a horse for me?
Looks like we're shy of 1 horse.
You brought 2 too many.
No. And yeah, he bloody kills him.
Bang, 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 bang. And a lovely little crash out.
Oh yeah.
Bang, bang, bang.
The motion in the camera work is really, really nice. It's not your flat bang, bang, bang. Yeah, as you say,
it's like you only have to watch any individual Sergio Leone Western to see the influence, especially on people like Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino's movies are drenched in Sergio Leone.
Yeah.
It's mad. And like you're saying, that kind of camera angle and the the positioning and the bad guys and the tension and stuff. It's all influenced.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Tarantino famously, he wanted to make a Western, so he made a World War II Western. He made Inglourious Bastards. He then just made Westerns after that. But you can tell that he's always had that in him. There's a reason he keeps using Ennio Morricone in all of his films. In fact, we just read that Django Unchained had an original piece by Ennio Morricone, which is huge.
Mental.
But that's the thing, the music in this film. So we've already heard a creepy harmonica. That's all we've heard by the opening.
McBain.
When we get to the McBain farmstead, when they get massacred, it's mostly silent. It's all just gunshots, and there's a really cool bit where the crickets or the cicadas just go silent, and they all get really spooked. But the music kicks in when a kid runs out of the farmhouse, sees the bodies, and the moment he runs out and identifies it, bang! Man with the harmonica. Music. It gave me chills, like, genuinely.
That's crazy.
It's wonderful. And so we set all these things up, and the characters start interacting while Jill is on her way to the farmstead in the most rundown saloon I've ever seen. Where we meet, so what we've got a little saloon. Cheyenne, his arrival is by the sounds of gunfighting and punching and smashing outside the door.
Yeah.
And do you remember the guy's voice? The bartender. David.
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
Everyone starts chatting up Jill, as you would. Hey, do you want to see this thing? But we get this really fun thing where Cheyenne is being bothered by harmonica playing the harmonica. And there's just this interaction that's just so slow and tense, and it's wonderful. But beyond that, Cheyenne and harmonica start rubbing up against each other. They start noticing each other around Jill. Because Cheyenne has been blamed for the murder of Jill's family, and he turns up, and then he's being watched by harmonica, who knows that there's a connection to Frank. And there's this whole interweaving mystery as they try and work out who's done this, who Frank is, and where to find him.
It all happens at the right time, and then obviously afterwards, when the harmonica, he's on the train and he gets kind of kidnapped, they realise he's on the top, and then you're introduced to the rich train guy at the right time, into more of the scheme. You learn about obviously Henry Fonda's big plot, and then after that, the models of the stations are found in the house.
Yeah,
and Jill, all of the sort of little plot pieces, all of the puzzle pieces come together exactly at the right time. That's
it. What's nice, as we mentioned, is the whole scheme is actually just a money thing. It's the McBains wanted to build a station, a new town, on a patch of water in the middle of the desert, whereas Mr. Morton wanted to drive straight through it and just own all the land. And if the station wasn't built by the time the railroad arrived, he would own it all. So they murdered McBain. It's this endlessly complicated thing that just flows. It just makes sense as you watch it.
It does, although, and again, maybe down to the antibiotics and the beer, there was a point where we started watching it today, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. You have to pause it and explain it to me.
That's the thing. That's one issue with 60s films, I think. Yeah. If you're not 100% engaged, you go, oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
But I think that's to its strength as well. I don't know about you. When I watch older films from 40s, 50s, 60s, I reckon, I get the same feeling afterwards like I get reading a book. I actually feel smarter for watching them.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Whereas if you watch modern films, you go,
yeah,
brilliant, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. They need a bit of brain power just to sort of absorb it all and keep up.
Well, it's funny because I think there's an element of theatre in older films.
Yeah.
So there's an element more of clever storytelling over visuals, which is what this is, I think, completely. There is still a gun duel, a final duel at the end, but it's kind of incidental.
Yeah.
The plot is about saying farewell to the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
To witness a new town being born, and to have some beautiful Ennio Morricone music over the top.
Absolutely, man, definitely.
So yes, I mean this is one of my favourite westerns of all time. And I hope you liked it too.
It was a great film, and I'm very, very happy you picked it. I will ask the question, do you think this is going into the Hollowdale Media Hall of Fame?
It should go into the Hollowdale Media Stream Bucket Vault of Goodness.
Okay. Amazing. The Vault of Goodness.
Yes. Yes.
That's just underneath the Hall of Heroes where Lord of the Rings is.
Yeah. Still sharp. Right. You need to choose a film. There's a book. Where is the book? Can I find a book?
So Adam just said to me, what's a book for your current situation? And he handed me a book called The Book of Heroic Failures.
Yep.
Why am I heroic failing at the moment?
Well, your body's falling apart, isn't it?
That's true. Okay, yeah, I can take that.
You've heroically survived 30 years of life, and now you've closing in on the 31st.
I got my blood test result back, and they said, there's nothing wrong with you, no further action required. They NFA'd
They NFA complete.
Yeah. Get next. What's that about? Obviously, I'm dying.
I had that once before. I used to get migraines all the time, and I got my eyes tested, and they went, well, it's not your eyes.
Don't worry about it.
What? Okay.
Get out. But yeah, The Book of Heroic Failures, written by Stephen Pyle, the official handbook of the Not Terribly Good Club of Great Britain.
Yay!
Alright, so...
Currently living in one big failure now.
Turn pages for me.
Oh yeah,
Are you
diseased?
how we do it?
Well, you do that and I'll tell you to stop.
Oh, okay, right, cool. Oh, yeah, cool.
How many times?
I don't know, it's confusing.
Right, stop. Stop. Right, read sentence. What's the word?
Orchestra.
Oh, what's the sentence?
Unhampered by preordained melody, the orchestra tackled the great compositions, agreeing only on when they should start and finish.
Okay. What's the subject?
The worst orchestra ever to perform in public was the Portsmouth Sinfonia. Formed in 1970, two-thirds of its members had never touched an instrument before. Oh, there you go.
Oh, excellent.
Orchestra.
Orchestra, that's interesting.
That gives me everything. I can either choose a film about orchestras, or I can choose a film with a magnificent orchestral score.
Oh.
I can't lose.
Green Bucket, Adam and Rob.
Adam's film-ish reviews. Blood Machines, 2019.
I've never seen so many wrecks. Maybe they had souls, too.
What are you talking about? Pull yourself together, Largo. My patience is wearing thin.
A man my age holds certain beliefs.
Blood Machines is a film and also apparently a web series, according to horror streaming site Shudder. And it just blew me away so much I had to review it. A sequel to a music video by the godlike synthwave maestro Carpenter Brute, Blood Machines introduces us to a future world of living spacecraft, fragile male ego, and, let me say once again, godlike synthwave. Proposed to be on the scale of a Hollywood movie, Blood Machine's writer and director Seth Ickerman was able to create the film with the help of two hugely successful Kickstarter campaigns, allowing him to create the level of effects and scale he wanted. A pretty impressive feat for his otherwise a glorified music video. But let's not get off track. Blood Machines opens on a desolate planet and the arrival of the brave and abusive Captain Vascan, played by Anders Heinrichsen, and his elderly and wise mechanic Largo, played by Christian Eriksen. Spaceship hunters by trade, it's up to Vascan to track down spaceships that have been taken over by their onboard artificial intelligence and return them to base, or destroy them, if not. On their arrival to the planet, Vascan is disgusted to find the ship he's just shot down to be surrounded by scavengers. Believing them to be nothing but vultures, Vascan arms himself and heads out to shoo them away, but is soon taken captive and forced to watch as one of the scavengers, Corey, played by Eliza Lazowski, undergoes some sort of religious ritual to the spacecraft, straddling the ship's hull, Corey summons the form of a naked woman from the ship's metal and lets her free as the naked form ascends from the wreckage and into orbit. Escaping his captors, Vascan captures Corey and launches in his own ship with Largo and Tracy, his own artificial intelligence, still shackled to the ship. Ignoring his orders to return to base, Vascan sets off in pursuit of the woman, believed by Largo to be the ship's soul, as they transcend space through a portal, discovering the vast graveyard of spacecraft beyond. It soon becomes apparent that there's a lot more to simple nuts and bolts in these spacecraft, and they're not to be ignored any longer. Blood Machines is, quite frankly, amazing. Originally supposed to be a short 30-minute film, the success and popularity of Blood Machines on Kickstarter pushed the filmmakers to go beyond this, and with the combination of Carpenter Brute's phenomenal soundtrack, Blood Machines just launched itself into one of my favourite web series of all time. I say web series because, well, there's not a whole lot there. The visuals are breathtaking, the music is spine-tingling, but the story is a little light. Where there is a theme, it's hard to say that it isn't more than a little on the nose. I get it, I like it, but I get it. There is very little in the way of complications in this film, only the build-up to a stunning climax. But maybe that's okay. Blood Machines, like I say, is like one long music video, and it absolutely had me hooked to the screen from start to finish. You can easily compare it to Love, Death and Robots, even to the likes of Farscape and, yes, even Blade Runner, but I don't think it does it justice. If you have Shudder or are thinking of getting it soon, make this the top of your watch list. It will stay with you for days.
So, on Fortnite Schmortnight, I talked about Kanye West and how he's going to run his presidency like the mythical city of Wakanda.
Yeah, what an idiot.
Yes. It got me thinking, though. Adam, if you were to win the presidency, being that you are a film buff, if you could run the presidency in any way influenced by film, how would you run it?
So, this to run the country as if it was a film, or just the White House?
Do you want me to give you an example?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would do, I would go the Hogwarts route. Now, hear me out. I would get a crazy old bearded man as the president, and I'd make him choose one new, fresh, young White House intern to save all the world's problems. So the entire pressure is, I have great trust in you, Barry Porter, and what you're going to do is you're going to sneak into China and spy on them and stop them from stealing all our money and taking over the world.
Nice.
And invade TikTok. And this poor intern is going to have to do it all on his own, with the help of his ginger friend and a nerd.
I thought you were going to say that everyone, the cabinet gets chosen by a hat going on their head.
Yes.
And deciding, you are
Democrat!
Secretary of Defense.
Yeah. Absolutely, yes.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
You could have Area 51 is guarded by a three-headed dog. Yeah, the list goes on. How the bad guy would be Kim John DeMort.
What?
Kim John DeMort.
Oh, God.
What?
I just got it. You've been thinking about that all day, haven't you?
I just thought of it. That was terrible. I was thinking about it all day. So, yeah, it would be great.
Well, bearing in mind how terribly everything's going now already, we need to sort of boil things back a bit. Just boil it back to its basic necessities.
Okay.
So, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh, okay.
So what we do is we lock John Goodman, a lovely lady,
Mary Elizabeth Winstead,
and a man who I can't remember. We lock them in the White House,
right,
and tell them that the wars happened. We lock them in the bunker where Trump hid during the Black Lives Matter march. We lock them in, and we'd say you have to solve all these problems, and you have to do it stuck inside a vault.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah. So they have access. They can control things outside the White House.
I've got another one.
All right, go on.
Mad Max.
Yeah, I was wondering when you were going to say that.
You stick the White House on the back of a giant oil tanker and drive it around America so no enemies will know where it is.
Brilliant. Okay.
And you have all the aides and assistants in little cars and bikes around it.
There's going to be a lot of oil needed.
That's fine, because you just siphon it off as you go. There's a big Hoover, and they drive around Texas and just suck it out the ground.
Okay. And is there going to be a weird guy in a mask who drinks milk, or is this going back pre?
No, we're talking pre.
So you're talking classic Mad Max.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Are we going to have a leather-clad Joe Biden?
We're going to have a completely naked, except for a hockey mask, president.
Okay. And we're going to have a gimp.
What's the fucking line he says? Just walk away. When he's at the ballot paper, when people are trying to vote him out, just walk away. Just walk away. Yeah.
I love it. Yes. Okay, great. That's cool. Kanye, don't even bother, mate.
Right, we plant a jungle in the grounds of the White House.
Right.
Arnie's in there.
Aha.
His mates are in there.
Right.
And everyone who is up to be president is in there, and you get picked by if you're the last surviving one after we put an alien creature in there with laser vision.
Nice. Could we make Trump a mecha Trump?
Whoa.
Can we replace his arms with cannons and give him spider legs like that guy in
he's got his little
Wild West?
When he drinks, he picks up his mug.
Yeah, and he's got little things on his face like little insect chompers.
You one ugly mother.
They came to party.
Get away from me, mate.
They came from outer space. But for these unhappy campers,
just put this thing on.
Things are about to get slimy. If you go down to the woods today, you'd better keep an eye out for quackers. They're mean, they're insane, and they're everywhere. And they've got an appetite for naughty campers. Starring Jodie Bennett, Bailey Pilbeam, Isabel Allbutt, and Blake Aiden. Quackers! They're everywhere.
We are not going back in that tent.
Watch it now at hollowdellmedia.vhx.tv.
And that was the show, Rob.
Fantastic. What a lovely show. What we have learned and loved and lived.
It feels a bit underwhelming, this show, this week.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like we haven't done anything.
Well, that's because we haven't.
We've just sat down and talked.
Yep.
Is that the show now?
No, it's not. Next week we'll think of something.
We need things. We need stuff.
Yeah.
We do have some jingles coming in, some new jingles, which we'll talk about when they arrive.
Do you know what we should do next week?
What?
We should make Josh do something.
Oh,
Let's get him in here.
Oh,
I want to speak to him.
We can phone anyone now. We've got the resource.
We do? Okay.
Who can we phone?
Let's talk to someone. Let's get someone on the show.
Okay. We'll find someone.
Okay, awesome.
Incidentally, cool little thing came up on my phone earlier. Now, this normally happens like in January time, so I haven't really thought about it. I keep missing it. It's one of those things that, I don't know if you have something you keep seeing and going, oh, bugger, that was a week ago.
Right.
I'm going to do it next year.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happens. Oh, damn it, I'm too busy. Well, for some reason, presumably Corona-related, the Nickelodeon writing program competition has opened up now.
Okay.
So deadline is 31st of August, I believe.
Right.
So this is a thing where you can write for Nickelodeon, and they teach you everything you need to know about writing. This is really cool, especially if you're up and coming and want to get into that world. They send you over to, I think it's somewhere in California. It might be San Francisco. I can't remember. Sorry, August the 1st is the final closing date. And all you have to do is write a spec script for an existing show. And they judge you on that. And previous years, they've had really long lists. They've condensed it now. So I'm just going to run through them for you. So to get into this competition, you need to write a spec script for one of these shows. American Dad. Atlanta. Awkwafina is Nora from Queens. No idea. Big Mouth. Blackish. Bless This Mess. Bob's Burgers. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Disenchantment, DuckTales, F is for Family, Family Reunion, Grownish, High School Musical, the series, what? Insecure, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Kim's Convenience, Letterkenny, Mum, On My Block, One Day at a Time, Pen 15, looks like penis, Raven's Home, Rick and Morty, Shield, Shrill, South Park, Superstore, The Connors, The Goldbergs, The Last OG, What We Do in the Shadows, and Young Sheldon.
Ah.
Right.
All right, let's get writing.
Which one do you want to do?
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay.
I'd find that easiest. South Park is just too clever. I don't know.
I'm curious by What We Do in the Shadows. I could probably knock together a Rick and Morty as well. 3 weeks to do it.
Yeah, let's give it a go.
I'm going to flip and try. So yes, but apart from that, is there anything else you want to say?
No, that's it from me.
Cool. Okay, well, if you do like what you hear, do check us out on Patreon at www.patreon.co.uk/HolidaleMedia. Do follow us on Twitter at @Streen_Bucket or Twitter and Instagram at HolidaleMedia.
Yes, please do.
And do, if you want to check out the sort of weird videos we do, which, incidentally, we might be doing some more soon.
Yes,
do check out our Holidale Media YouTube channels, Holidale Media and Holidale Media 2. God, is that everything?
That's everything. We're done.
Hooray! Have a wonderful fortnight, guys, and we'll speak to you later.
Yeah, speak to you later. Have a good one.